The silence between stars. Captain Nadia Okonkwo stared through the bridge viewport of the ESS Perseverance as Europa's gleaming ice surface slowly rotated beneath them. A dozen sensor drones hovered around an anomaly that shouldn't exist, a perfect obsidian tetrahedron half buried in the moon's frozen crust. "Anything new, Dr. Wright?" she asked, not taking her eyes off the object. Dr. Marcus Wright hunched over his console, his weathered face illuminated by scrolling data. "Nothing that makes sense, Captain. It's absorbing our scans like a black hole. Material composition unknown. And there's no way it formed naturally." Lieutenant Reza Khalil, Nadia's second-in-command, leaned forward. "Could it be Concord technology? A spy device?" "Not a chance," Wright replied. "The Concord's architectural principles are all curves and biomimicry. This is something else entirely." Nadia's wrist communicator chimed. "Captain, this is Dr. Suarez in exobiology. You need to see this immediately." 20 minutes later, Nadia stood in the ship's laboratory watching Dr. Javier Suarez manipulate a holographic model of DNA strands that twisted and reformed in impossible configurations. "I found these microorganisms in ice samples collected near the artifact," Suarez explained, pushing his glasses up his nose. "They're unlike anything in our databases, or the Concord's shared scientific archives." "Are they dangerous?" Nadia asked. "Not directly. But they're artificial, Captain. Engineered at a level beyond current Concord capability." Suarez highlighted a section of the floating model. "And they're carrying data." "Data?" "Encoded in their nucleotide sequences. We've only translated fragments, but..." He pulled up another display showing symbols and equations. "It appears to be instructions for building something." Before Nadia could respond, Lieutenant Khalil's voice came through the intercom. "Captain to the bridge. Priority communication from Earth Command." Admiral Hoshiko Yamamoto's hologram materialized in the bridge's communication hub, her expression grave. "Captain Okonkwo, you are ordered to secure the artifact and return to Earth immediately. The Concord Diplomatic Council has issued formal charges against humanity." "Charges?" Nadia felt her stomach tighten. "On what grounds?" "They claim we've been developing prohibited weapons technologies and violating territorial agreements." The Admiral's image flickered. "They've presented evidence of human involvement in the destruction of a Palaxian research outpost near Tau Ceti. That's absurd. We haven't had ships in that sector for years." "Nevertheless, they have sensor logs, communication transcripts, even genetic traces." Admiral Yamamoto's voice hardened. "Someone has gone to extraordinary lengths to frame Earth, and the Concord Council is all too willing to believe it. Your discovery may be connected. Get it back here, fast." The journey back to Earth passed in tense silence. The artifact, now contained in the ship's most secure cargo hold, defied all conventional analysis. Dr. Wright and his team worked around the clock, finding nothing but more questions. On the third day, Dr. Suarez requested an urgent meeting. "I've been comparing our ship's logs with the data packets sent by Admiral Yamamoto," he said, dark circles under his eyes suggesting he hadn't slept. "There are discrepancies that shouldn't exist." He displayed two files side by side. "This is our original record of our approach to Europa, and this is the same record as it appears in the files Earth received." Nadia leaned closer. "They're different." "Exactly. Our trajectory has been altered to make it appear we entered a restricted zone near Europa. But that's not all." He pulled up another display. "I found the same pattern of alterations in the evidence the Concord presented against us. The data is authentic, but it's been surgically modified." "By who?" "That's the question, isn't it?" Suarez rubbed his temples. "Whatever we're dealing with can manipulate digital systems at a level we can't detect without direct comparison to the original." Nadia felt cold dread settling in her stomach. Could the Concord themselves be behind this? A pretext to restrict humanity's expansion? I considered that. But then I found this. He showed her an image captured from Europa's surface, a shadow that seemed to shift and flow unnaturally across the ice. This was near the artifact site. I enhanced it. The magnified image revealed a form that resembled neither human nor any known Concord species, a writhing mass of darkness that seemed to bend light around itself. What the hell is that? I don't know, Suarez admitted. But I've found similar anomalies in images from the destroyed Palaxian outpost. We're not being framed by the Concord. Something else is turning us against each other. When the Perseverance reached Earth 2 days later, they found the planet on high alert. Concord diplomatic vessels had withdrawn from orbit. The normal buzz of interstellar communications had fallen silent. Admiral Yamamoto met them at the Orbital Defense Headquarters, her uniform immaculate but her eyes betraying exhaustion. Peace talks begin at Concord Station Omega in 6 hours, she informed them as they walked through the facility's gleaming corridors. I'm leading Earth's delegation. Captain Okonkwo, you'll accompany me along with Dr. Wright. What about the artifact? Nadia asked. Dr. Suarez will remain here with a research team. The Concord doesn't know about it yet, and I want to keep it that way. The Admiral paused. This may be our last chance to prevent a complete diplomatic break. The journey to Concord Station Omega was tense. Nadia studied the delegation, Admiral Yamamoto, 5 high-ranking officials from Earth government, and Dr. Wright, who carried evidence of the data manipulation they discovered. It felt insufficient against the mounting accusations. Concord Station Omega hung like a jewel at the edge of the solar system, its crystalline structures reflecting the distant sun. The Earth delegation was greeted with cold formality by blue-skinned Altaïran security officers and escorted to the Grand Chamber. Representatives of the 12 Concord species sat in tiered seats around a central platform. Supreme Arbiter Coravel of the Movari, with her elongated head and multifaceted eyes, presided from the highest position. The Council recognizes the Earth delegation, she announced, her translator rendering her subsonic speech into flat, emotionless standard. You may present your defense against the charges brought before this body. Admiral Yamamoto stepped forward, dignity in every movement. Honored Arbiter, esteemed Council, the evidence presented against Earth has been falsified. We have proof that the sensor logs and communication records have been altered by an unknown third party. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. These are serious allegations, Coravel responded. Can you identify this supposed third party? Not yet, but... A sharp chime interrupted her. One of the Palaxian representatives touched a control on his console, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. New evidence has just been transmitted, he announced. Sensor readings from the Sirius border outpost showing Earth ships transferring prohibited weapons technology to Orion fringe pirates. That's impossible, Nadia blurted out. Those must be falsified too. Convenient, hissed a Drazic representative, scales shifting color with agitation. Every piece of evidence against humans is mysteriously falsified. Dr. Wright stepped forward with his data tablet. If you'll permit me to show you the technical analysis. The lights throughout the chamber suddenly flickered and died, plunging them into darkness. When emergency systems activated seconds later, Nadia found herself staring at Altaïran security forces with weapons drawn. What is the meaning of this? Demanded Admiral Yamamoto. Supreme Arbiter Coravel stood, her multifaceted eyes glittering coldly. During the power disruption, our systems detected an attempt to inject malicious code into the Council's evidence database, originating from the Earth delegation's position. That's absurd. Dr. Wright protested. I was merely preparing to display our findings. Scan his device, ordered Coravel. An Altaïran officer took Wright's tablet and connected it to a Concord scanner. After a moment, he looked up. It contains viral code designed to corrupt our archives, Arbiter. Nadia watched in horror as Wright's face drained of color. That's not possible. I checked it myself before we arrived. Around the chamber, counselors began shouting accusations. Admiral Yamamoto attempted to restore order, but her voice was lost in the cacophony. Coravell raised a hand, and silence fell. I believe we have seen enough. The council will deliberate immediately. The deliberation lasted less than an hour. When the Earth delegation was brought back into the chamber, Nadia could read the verdict in the cold satisfaction on several counselors' faces. Supreme Arbiter Coravell's voice resonated through the chamber. For crimes against member species, technological transgressions, and violations of sovereign space, Earth is hereby expelled from the Galactic Concord, effective immediately. Admiral Yamamoto stood rigid with shock. Supreme Arbiter, I protest this ruling. We have not been allowed proper time to investigate. The evidence is conclusive, Coravell interrupted. All Earth vessels must withdraw to Sol system within 30 standard cycles. Any human ship found beyond your home system's boundary will be considered hostile and treated accordingly. Earth colonies on shared worlds will be evacuated. Your diplomatic missions will cease operations. Your trading rights are revoked. As the terms of exile continued, Nadia noticed something strange, a flickering shadow behind the Supreme Arbiter, a darkness that seemed to move with purpose. For an instant, she thought she saw the same writhing form they had observed on Europa. The exile is permanent, Coravell concluded. Earth stands alone. The journey back to Earth was made in stunned silence. As their shuttle approached the orbital headquarters, Nadia noticed increased military activity. Earth was preparing for the consequences of isolation. Admiral Yamamoto summoned Nadia to her private office immediately upon their return. To Nadia's surprise, Dr. Suarez was already there, along with several high-ranking military and scientific personnel she didn't recognize. Captain Okonkwo, the admiral said without preamble, Project Lazarus is now active. You know what that means. Nadia nodded. The contingency they'd hoped would never be necessary. Humanity's answer to exile. Dr. Suarez, tell Captain Okonkwo what you've discovered. The xenobiologist activated a holographic display showing the artifact, now partially disassembled in a containment lab. The tetrahedral structure contains data storage beyond anything we've seen. It's a message, Captain, from a species that calls themselves the predecessors. They were nearly wiped out by entities they named Void Heralds, parasitic beings that manipulate advanced civilizations into conflict before feeding on the resulting chaos. He showed her enhanced images of the shadow forms. The Heralds infiltrate communication systems, alter records, manipulate perceptions, turning allies against each other. The Concord is their next target. And we, it seems, were identified as the greatest threat to their plans. Why us? Nadia asked. The predecessors believe human unpredictability and innovation make us uniquely resistant to the Herald's influence. That's why they placed the artifact where we would find it. It contains technology specifically designed to identify and combat these entities. Admiral Yamamoto stepped forward. The Concord has made a catastrophic error in banishing us. But their mistake will be our opportunity. Without Concord restrictions on our technological development, we can implement the predecessor knowledge fully. She gestured to the window, where Earth gleamed blue and white below. The Void Heralds wanted us isolated and forgotten. Instead, they've created their worst nightmare, a humanity with nothing left to lose. As she spoke, Nadia could see ships moving into defensive positions around Earth. Soon, the Concord blockade would be in place, confining humanity to its home system. But she also saw determination in the faces around her. This was humanity at its best, facing adversity with innovation and grit. Project Lazarus begins now, Admiral Yamamoto declared. When we emerge from this exile, the galaxy will never be the same. Behind them, the artifact pulsed with ancient light, a promise of knowledge and power that would transform human destiny forever, if they survived to claim it. Reclamation. 5 years passed since Earth's banishment from the galactic community. 5 years of innovation born from necessity. 5 years of humanity rebuilding, strengthening, and preparing. General Nadia Okonkwo, her promotion accelerated by the crisis, stood on the observation deck of Ganymede Station, watching as the prototype vessel Nightshade prepared for its maiden voyage. At 42, stress had etched new lines around her eyes, but they remained sharp as she studied the sleek black ship that represented humanity's defiance. Stealth systems are nominal, reported Lieutenant Commander Janwei, who had become her right hand during the years of isolation. The Nightshade can pass within 100 meters of a Concorde patrol and register as nothing more than background radiation. And the predecessor tech integration? Dar. Tanaka can brief you better than I can, Wei admitted. As if summoned by her name, Dr. Imiko Tanaka entered the observation deck. Once a theoretical physicist at Tokyo University, she now led Earth's most critical research division. The predecessor artifact had transformed her career, and humanity's technological trajectory. The detection grid is fully operational, she announced without preamble. We can identify Void Herald presence at a distance of up to 2 light-minutes. The neutralization field has shorter range but should incapacitate any Herald within the ship's immediate vicinity. Nadia nodded. Then we're ready. The mission launches at 0600 tomorrow. Later that evening, she visited the secure research facility buried deep beneath the Ganymede colony. Dr. Javier Suarez, now director of xenobiology for the Earth Defense Coalition, greeted her at the reinforced doors. General, he said, the formality a sign of their estranged relationship. The years of crisis had taken them in different directions, Nadia toward military leadership, Javier toward scientific pursuit. The romance that had briefly flourished between them had been another casualty of Earth's exile. Director, she replied with equal formality. I need your latest assessment of Herald infiltration within the Concorde. Suarez led her through laboratories where teams analyzed data gathered by the few human operatives who had managed to remain in Concorde space. Holographic displays showed the spread of Herald influence, subtle at first, now increasingly obvious to those who knew what to look for. It's accelerating, he explained, pointing to a timeline projection. The Heralds have agents in at least 8 of the 12 Concorde species leadership structures. The Alterans are completely compromised. The Drazic are showing signs of resistance. And Supreme Arbiter Coravel? Still unclear. Her species biology makes Herald infiltration difficult but not impossible. He pulled up an image of the Movari leader. Our operatives report increasingly erratic behavior, but that could be stress rather than influence. Nadia studied the displays. If we expose the Heralds too soon, they'll simply retreat into the shadows and begin again elsewhere. We need to strike at their source. Which we still haven't located, Suarez reminded her. The predecessor artifact contained defensive technology but only vague references to the Herald's origin point. That's what the Nightshade mission will change. She turned to face him directly. I want you on that ship, Javier. His eyes widened. Me? I haven't been in the field for years. You're the foremost expert on Herald biology, and you've spent more time studying the predecessor data than anyone. If we find something out there, I need someone who can recognize its significance immediately. He hesitated only briefly. When do we leave? Tomorrow. Oh, and one more thing, she met his gaze directly. I'm commanding the mission personally. The Nightshade slipped past the Concorde blockade at the edge of Sol system with contemptuous ease. The ships that had once seemed so intimidating, vast crystalline structures housing devastating weapons, now appeared as obsolete relics to Nadia's trained eye. Humanity had evolved beyond them in just 5 years, freed from the technological restrictions the Concorde had subtly imposed for decades. Their destination was the Cygnus Reach, a cluster of star systems near the Concorde's border with unexplored space. Intelligence from Earth's remaining operatives suggested unusual activity there, Concorde ships disappearing, communications being disrupted, isolated outposts falling silent. The bridge of the Nightshade was a marvel of human ingenuity. Holographic interfaces replaced physical controls, neural links allowed crew members to interact with ship systems through thought alone, and at the heart of it all, a crystalline matrix derived from predecessor technology monitored space for the telltale energy signatures of void heralds. Approaching the Rhea outpost, announced Navigator Petra Novak, a former asteroid miner whose natural spatial awareness had made her invaluable to the mission. The outpost appeared on their screens, a Concord scientific facility built into a small moon orbiting a gas giant. According to their intelligence, it had gone silent 3 weeks earlier. No life signs, reported Security Chief Ramirez, scanning the structure. But I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the central hub. Herald signatures? Nadia asked. Dr. Tanaka studied her specialized console. No. Something different. Almost like a beacon. Could be a trap, Ramirez warned. Nadia considered their options. We came here for answers. Prepare a boarding team. Full containment protocols. 20 minutes later, Nadia led a 6-person team through the airlock of the abandoned outpost. Their armor, black and sleek, with integrated predecessor tech, would protect them from most known weapons and detect Herald presence within 10 meters. The facility was eerily intact, no signs of struggle, no evidence of evacuation. Workstations stood with meals half-eaten, research in progress, as if everyone had simply vanished in an instant. This isn't Herald methodology, Suarez observed, scanning the environment. They typically create conflict, not this. In the central laboratory, they found what had triggered their sensors, a device similar to the predecessor artifact, but smaller, its obsidian surface etched with complex symbols that shifted as they watched. It's active, Dr. Tanaka said, approaching cautiously. And it seems to be responding to our presence. When Nadia stepped closer, the device projected a holographic display, a star map highlighting a region in what humans called the Perseus Void, an area of space the Concord had declared strictly forbidden to all species. A location, Suarez breathed. But of what? Before anyone could respond, their suits' warning systems activated simultaneously. Herald presence detected. Ramirez shouted. Multiple signatures, converging fast. Through the laboratory's viewport, Nadia saw them, writhing masses of darkness flowing across the moon's surface toward the facility, dozens of them moving with terrible purpose. Back to the ship, she ordered. Download everything from their systems and grab that device. They fought their way back to the airlock, the predecessor-derived weapons in their suits the only defense against the encroaching shadows. 2 security officers fell, their suits suddenly darkening as Herald entities attempted to infiltrate the protective layers. As the nightshade detached from the outpost, the moon's surface churned with Herald activity, more than they had ever observed in one location. We've stirred up the hive, Ramirez observed grimly. No, Suarez corrected, studying the data they'd retrieved. We found it. Or at least one of them. He looked up, eyes wide with realization. The map isn't showing us where to go, it's showing us what's already there. The Perseus Void is a Herald stronghold. Back on Earth, the revelation galvanized the Defense Coalition. The recovered device proved to be a predecessor monitoring station, one of many scattered throughout the galaxy, designed to track Herald activity. The data it contained revealed the extent of the infiltration, far worse than their intelligence had suggested. They've compromised nearly 30% of Concord territory, Admiral Yamamoto announced to the gathered military and scientific leadership. At the current rate of expansion, the entire Concord will be under Herald influence within 2 years. Then it's time, Nadia said. We activate Phoenix Protocol. The protocol had been years in preparation, a coordinated revelation of Earth's new capabilities and the Herald threat, coupled with a military strike against confirmed Herald positions. It was a gamble that the uninfluenced parts of the Concord would listen once presented with irrefutable evidence. Dr. Tanaka had developed a method to broadcast Herald detection capabilities to existing Concord security networks. DAR. Suarez had created a biological agent that could neutralize Herald entities without harming their hosts. And Earth's shipyards had secretly produced a fleet of advanced vessels, each carrying predecessor-derived technology. The Nightshade will lead a strike force to the Perseus Void installation, Nadia explained. Simultaneously, we'll transmit evidence of the Herald infiltration to every Concord world, along with detection protocols. Our operatives are positioned to protect key Concord leaders during the initial confusion. Admiral Yamamoto studied the plan. The Concord blockade will be neutralized if necessary, Nadia replied firmly. But I believe once they understand the threat, the uncompromised ships will join us. 3 days later, the largest fleet ever assembled in Sol System prepared to move. 200 ships, from nimble fighters to massive carriers, gathered at the blockade boundary. The Nightshade took point position, Nadia standing proudly on its bridge. All ships report ready, General, Lieutenant Commander Wei announced. Commence Operation Phoenix, Nadia ordered. The fleet surged forward, advanced stealth systems activating in perfect synchronization. They passed through the blockade like ghosts, the Concord ships registering nothing as humanity's armada deployed into formation around them. Only when they were in position did Nadia give the next command, reveal. Throughout Concord space, the revolution began simultaneously. On hundreds of worlds, hidden human operatives activated predecessor devices that exposed Herald entities. In government chambers, military installations, and population centers, the infiltrators were suddenly visible for what they truly were. The Concord blockade ships found themselves surrounded by an Earth fleet that had materialized from nowhere, their sensors suddenly receiving detailed information about Herald biology and methods of detection. This is General Nadia Okonkwo of Earth, she broadcast on all Concord frequencies. Your civilization has been infiltrated by parasitic entities we call Void Heralds. They orchestrated Earth's expulsion to remove the greatest threat to their invasion. We return now not as enemies, but as the salvation you unwittingly cast aside. The response was chaos, exactly as the Heralds would want. Some Concord ships attacked immediately. Others went silent, their Herald-influenced commanders retreating. A few established communication, desperate for explanation. Hold position, Nadia ordered her fleet. Defensive measures only. Let them see we speak the truth. On Concord worlds, the evidence was becoming undeniable. Herald entities, exposed by the detection protocols, abandoned subtlety for direct action. Government centers on 3 planets reported attacks by shadowy creatures that had once worn the faces of trusted officials. The turning point came when Supreme Arbiter Coravel, broadcasting from the Concord Central World, publicly acknowledged the Herald threat. The evidence presented by Earth forces cannot be denied, she announced, her multifaceted eyes gleaming with a clarity that had been absent for years. The Concord has been deceived by these Void Heralds, and in our blindness, we cast out those who might have saved us sooner. With the Arbiter's declaration, resistance to Earth's return crumbled. Concord military vessels began coordinating with the human fleet, establishing joint defense perimeters around major worlds. We've achieved our first objective, Admiral Yamamoto informed Nadia via quantum communication. The Herald infiltration has been exposed and containment protocols are being implemented throughout Concord space. You're authorized to proceed with the second phase. The Nightshade led a combined Earth-Concord battle group toward the Perseus Void. Scans confirmed what the predecessor map had indicated, a massive installation hidden within the dust clouds and gravitational anomalies that had kept the region unexplored. It's organic, Dr. Suarez reported, studying the readings as they approached. The entire structure appears to be a living entity, or a collection of entities forming a larger whole. The battle began before they reached visual range. Swarms of Herald vessels, if they could be called vessels, emerged from the dust clouds. Unlike conventional ships, these were amorphous, constantly shifting masses that absorbed energy weapons and regenerated damage almost instantly. Conventional tactics aren't working, Security Chief Ramirez reported as the first wave of Concord ships fell back in disarray. Switch to predecessor protocols, Nadia ordered. The Earth ships adjusted their weapons, firing beams of coherent energy that disrupted the Herald entities at a fundamental level. Where Concord weapons had merely damaged the surface, these beams caused the Herald vessels to collapse in on themselves. The battle raged for hours as they fought their way to the central installation. The combined fleet took heavy losses, but Earth's advanced technology proved decisive. Finally, they reached the heart of the Herald stronghold, a pulsating structure the size of a small moon, writhing with dark energy. "Our weapons aren't penetrating the outer shell," reported Navigator Novak. Dar. Tanaka studied her readings intently. "There's a resonance pattern. If we can match it precisely. We need to get closer," Nadia decided. "Prepare a strike team." Despite protests from her command staff, Nadia led the mission herself, accompanied by Dr. Suarez, Dr. Tanaka, and a squad of their best operatives. They took a specialized shuttle equipped with the most powerful predecessor technology they possessed, a device designed specifically to disrupt Herald collective consciousness. As they approached the organic structure, they faced waves of pure Herald entities, no longer bothering with disguise, revealing their true nature as beings of semi-solid darkness that bent light and space around themselves. The shuttle landed on the surface of the installation, which pulsed beneath them like a living heart. Leading her team through a membrane that parted at their approach, Nadia found herself in what could only be described as the brain of the organism, a vast chamber where countless Herald entities merged into a singular, churning mass. "The device," she ordered, and Dr. Tanaka activated the predecessor technology they had brought. A field of blue-white energy expanded outward, causing the Herald mass to recoil violently. The chamber shuddered around them as the collective consciousness fought against the disruption. "It's working," Dr. Suarez confirmed, "but not fast enough. The structure is trying to seal itself off, regenerate. Then we go to contingency," Nadia decided. She turned to Dr. Tanaka. "Overload the device. Maximum yield." Tanaka's eyes widened. "That would destroy everything within 1,000 kilometers, including us." "Do it," Nadia ordered. "The shuttle's emergency transportation system might get us out in time." As Tanaka worked, Nadia contacted the fleet. "All ships withdraw to minimum safe distance. We're initiating Protocol Omega." The device began to pulse faster, its energy field expanding and contracting as it built toward critical mass. Herald entities swarmed toward them, sensing the threat, but the field held them at bay. 30 seconds to overload, Tanaka reported as they retreated toward the shuttle. They were halfway there when the membrane behind them ruptured, revealing what could only be described as a Herald Prime, 3 times larger than the others, with a presence that felt ancient and malevolent. "Go!" Nadia shouted to the others, raising her weapon. "I'll hold it off." "Not alone," Suarez replied, moving to her side. Their eyes met briefly, a world of unspoken emotions passing between them in that instant. Together they faced the creature, their weapons barely slowing its advance. Just as it reached them, the emergency transport activated, disintegrating their molecules seconds before the predecessor device detonated. From the bridge of the Phoenix, the Earth Fleet's flagship, Admiral Yamamoto watched as a sphere of blinding energy consumed the Herald installation. When the light faded, nothing remained but scattered debris and empty space where the threat had once been. "Any sign of the strike team?" she asked, her voice tight with concern. Communications Officer Takeda worked frantically at his console. "I'm detecting, yes. The shuttle's emergency beacon. They made it out." One by one, the strike team was recovered, Dr. Tanaka, the security operatives, and finally, the shuttle containing General Okonkwo and Dr. Suarez, both injured but alive.